Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As you can see, we're sharing our webcam with you, and your lines are muted. During this presentation, you can email your questions to info@pirolaw.com. And at the end, we will send you a link to request a consultation. You also should have received 2 attachments via email before this webinar: the estate planning guide and a questionnaire, which Mr. Pirro will be talking about. And following this presentation, you'll get a short survey to fill out. So now I'd like to introduce to you Lou Pirro. Hi, Lou.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Beth. Our marketing director, Beth, and our other marketing coordinator, Sarah, are both here with me. And we want to welcome you to today's webinar. Today's online training is 10 tips from, yes, 35 years in practice, believe it or not. So it doesn't seem possible, but there we are. Been doing this a long time, and I want to share some of the insights that I've gained over those 35 years, which has been spent helping families and individuals and businesses through the planning process. And so some of these are going to be basic, but others are going to be a little more sophisticated. You probably already have undertaken some of these planning ideas, but hopefully after today's 30-minute session, you'll have some new ideas that you can take back, look at your own plan, and go to the next level. Tip number 1, procrastination is everyone's enemy, mine too. And so we all put things off. We all do things. I tend to do them for other people and leave my own planning on the shelf. But we need to make sure that we take care of our own business. It's not fair to your family, not fair to your loved ones, and not fair to yourself if you don't look at your own plan and make sure that you get it done. So many clients that we have come into us whose loved one has just passed away, and they say, oh, mom or dad really meant to get to it, but they just never got there. They just never had the ability to pull the trigger and make the plan happen. So tip number 1, don't let the perfect get in the way of the possible. Do what you need to do to get the plan started, get the basics in place. And the way we're going to approach today's presentation, we're going to look at building blocks. What should you be thinking about, and what can you get done today? What's the low-hanging fruit? How do I get this process started? And then from there, looking at the more advanced planning topics that you can add in, or if you're really adventurous, you can take it all on and do it all in one session. So either way, get started. Tip number 1, don't let it linger, because that can be fatal when things happen. And estate planning question comes up: when do you start? What's a good time? Well, think about this. This is a scenario that I faced myself. I had one of my children go off to college. She happened to have an illness. She went to the health center. I called up and wanted to get information on her condition, and guess what? I couldn't, because she hadn't had time yet, or hadn't had the inclination to go and fill out the form, which would have designated me as her healthcare representative. So for many of our clients now, when their children go to college, we have the child at age 18, when they are of majority, sign a healthcare proxy and a power of attorney. Came in handy for my son as well, because he was off at college. He said, Dad, I need you to go to the bank and I need you to put some money into my bank account. Any other parents ever had that happen? So I had to go down to the bank and access his bank account, but guess what? I wasn't on the account. So I couldn't access his account. But if I had the power of attorney, I could. So we have many of our clients do those 2 basic documents for their children at age 18. And when they go to college, then the parents have the ability to get health information. There's a HIPAA waiver included in the healthcare proxy. You have the ability to get the power of attorney done. So you may want to do this for your kids. When you're looking at your own planning, those are 2 of the basic documents. We'll talk about those in just a moment. But make sure that you're looking at your own retirement planning. Is your income going to be sufficient? What steps should you be taking to make sure that you're protected, your income stream and your assets? And what should you be looking at to make sure that your family, your spouse, your children, your loved ones are fully protected while taking care of any charities that you may want to include in the plan. Beth mentioned 2 handouts that were sent to you, 2 guides. One is the estate planning guide, and that has very detailed descriptions of all of the documents that I'm going to be talking about today. So take that out and read through it. All the things like the power of attorney, the healthcare proxy are in there, along with wills and trusts and others. But that's a good document for you to start with. It has the tax code as it applies in New York and federally, all in that guide. Also, there's a questionnaire, and the question often comes up, how do I get started? The questionnaire is a perfect place to begin the planning process. And in that questionnaire, you'll see places where you will choose individuals to handle various functions on your behalf. I just mentioned 2. Who will be my healthcare decision maker? Who would be the alternate if they're not available? Who would be my financial decision maker? And all of those questions are asked in that questionnaire, and it will lead you through it. There's explanation in the guide. So those tools, the questionnaire and the guide, should allow you to begin this process. As I said, don't procrastinate. Start the process now. Start filling out the questionnaire, assembling your information, gathering your thoughts. And once you've done that and listened to today's webinar, hopefully you're ready then to come in and to have a consultation where you can get specific guidance and advice on how to create a plan that will protect assets, preserve them from creditors, address your desire to leave a legacy to your children, and how that would all work. Okay, there's tip number 1, 9 to go. Tip number 2, get expert advice. We have people come into us, oh, I drafted my will on LegalZoom. Would you look at it for me? And I say, sure, I'll look at it for you, but for me to advise you, I'm going to have to go through the whole process that we would normally do if we were drafting the will ourselves. And so it's not going to save you any money if you go to a lawyer and ask them to review a LegalZoom will. That LegalZoom will is not going to take into consideration all of the intricacies of estate planning, powers of attorney, healthcare proxies, executors' trusts, protecting children, all the things that you need to do in order to get it done properly. What does it cost to get that consultation? How expensive is it for me to get advice on how to construct a plan? It's free. We offer a free consultation, so if you have the ability to gather up the information and fill out the questionnaire, we will sit down with you and review all of that information and give you professional advice from 35 years of experience in estate planning that will be specific to your individual needs. Why is estate planning for retirement assets important? When I started my career 35 years ago, people had pensions. A lot of employers offered what were called defined benefit plans, where you would work for one company for 40 years, and when you retired, you got a gold watch and a pension. Those pensions are now 401ks, IRAs, and private retirement accounts. So what used to be money managed by the company for your benefit and then doled out over your lifetime as a pension is now money that you have to manage for yourself in a 401k and an IRA. And what that means is many of our clients, the largest asset that they have that they need to protect and plan for is that IRA or 401k. This takes specific planning because those assets are taxable, not only as income, but they're also taxable as part of your estate. So you have to make sure that you're looking at the retirement plan assets specifically with regard to not only when do you draw it, how do you draw it, how much do you draw for your own retirement income, but importantly, equally important, how do I leave it to my beneficiaries? Should I name my spouse as the primary beneficiary? Should I name my kids as beneficiaries? If my children are all doing well, should I bypass my children and name my grandchildren as beneficiaries and do the ultimate stretch? Because the longer you leave that account in a tax-deferred environment, the better the end result and the more money that will ultimately come out. Well, how do I do that if I'm naming grandchildren? We have a specialized trust. We call it a standalone retirement trust that's designed just to capture retirement plan benefits and maximize the stretch and the value of those accounts for your loved ones. So doing the planning for retirement plan assets in addition to your will, because those assets don't pass through your will, is very, very important. Tip number 3. This is my 8th grade social studies teacher, Mr. Van Orman. So if you were at Hudson Middle School or junior high at the time and you had Mr. Van Orman, you know that up on the board, above the board in big bold letters, he had "Know all the facts." That applies to life as much as it does to estate planning. If we miss something, if you're not cognizant of some nuance with regard to your plan or a beneficiary or an asset, it can throw the plan in an entirely different direction. So the guide that you have will educate you as to all of the considerations, and the questionnaire will cull out for us all of the detailed information. And people come in and say, "Oh my God, that was work." Well, yeah, this is a little bit of work, but the rewards are great because you want to make sure that you cover all of those bases. And the questionnaire is thorough, it's detailed, and it's designed to allow you and us to have a meaningful, very detailed conversation about your own existing documents and planning and what recommendations we make to improve it. So thank you, Mr. Van Orman, for teaching me the value of facts. Others should learn those, but the value of facts can't be understated when it comes to estate planning. We can't afford to miss anything. Tip number 4, as I said, don't let things that are beyond your current comprehension stop you from doing things that are basic. Get something done. Get it in place. What is a basic estate plan? We call it the 4-legged stool of estate planning. Starts with the 2 documents I already mentioned: advance directives, power of attorney, and healthcare proxy. You want to make sure that the power of attorney is thorough, that it's done in compliance with state law. In New York, we have a very complex statute that does the power of attorney, and we want to make sure that that is something that we are able to do for you with agents. You can have co-agents under a power of attorney. Could be 1, 2, 3 people. They can act separately or jointly, and they can also have the ability to appoint successor agents. But you could also appoint those successors. In the document, we frequently do and advise our clients to. The power of attorney can have something called a statutory gifts rider attached to it. This is part of the changes that took place back in 2009. So the statutory gifts rider allows your agent to do things for you that you could do for yourself, but if you lose capacity. And these documents, the healthcare proxy and power of attorney, are what we call advance directives designed to cover periods of time when you are unable to make your own financial or healthcare decisions. When does that come up? Well, you may know we have a radio show, and if you don't listen to it, it's on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. It's called Life Happens. And as I like to say, we're all a banana peel away from needing someone to manage our finances and make decisions with regard to our health care. So if that does happen, how do you cover that base? Power of attorney, healthcare proxy, you name the individuals. In the power of attorney, again, co-agents. In the healthcare proxy, they want you to have just one agent at a time. So that's something that we'll go through with you if you do come in. What instructions do you provide in a healthcare proxy? Well, they look a lot like living will directions. So it deals with things including end-of-life decision-making. So if you don't want to be kept alive by artificial means, if you want to have your agent be able to withdraw artificial life support, then that's going to go into your healthcare proxy. You want to have a good discussion on that. You want to have a good set of instructions so that your agents know exactly what your wishes are. The last document you see here, one of the legs on the 4-legged stool, is something not many attorneys do yet, but we do in our office and have done it for the last 12 years since it was brought into law in New York. It's called a disposition of remains appointment. Well, what remains? Yours. When you die, you can be cremated, you can be buried, you can have a funeral, you can have a wake, you can have a graveside service. All of those things are possible. And we'll have this discussion as to what your wishes are. Some people simply say, let my agent decide, and that's fine too. But the key is to have appointed the person and people in a chain of command that you want to make these decisions for you. And I would put to you that it's a gift. It's a mitzvah to your children if you lay out all of the wishes that you have. And I can tell you from having had these conversations with hundreds of clients that children very rarely know everything that you want. So it's important to lay the instructions out clearly, appoint the agent you want to carry them out. The disposition of remains appointment does that. 3 legs of the 4-legged stool: advance directives, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, and upon death, what happens to your remains? The DORA will take care of that. What's the 4th leg on the 4-legged stool? Do a will. 56% of Americans, it is estimated, do not have a will. This is a basic document. You're going to appoint executors to handle your estate. You're going to appoint trustees for beneficiaries to handle trusts. You can create those trusts under your will. You're going to dispose of property. Who gets my gold watch? Who gets my golf clubs? Or you can simply say that I want it divided up among my 3 children, all to my spouse and then to my 3 children. So the will is an important document and the 4th leg of the 4-legged stool. If you have a will, it does have to go to court. A lot of people say, well, I have a will, I can avoid probate. The definition of probate is the proving of a will. So court process, probate process, it has become a little bit more difficult because of the volume of cases and the fact that we only have one court that handles all of the wills in Albany County, Schenectady County, New York County, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens. One court does all the work. So those courts get backlogged. They get bogged down, and your case is going to be on a stack of cases. Is it possible to avoid probate? And the answer is yes. Guardianship is something our office does a lot of. We're not going to focus on that. But if you don't have the advance directives in place and you lose capacity, that could be from an illness, could have an accident, then your family is going to end up in court. Our job as planners is to keep you and your family out of the courts. They're not bad places. Judges are good people, but it's not where you want to be. There's a lot of cost, expense. And my partner, Aaron Connor, loves our clients who go to court because that's where he goes and that's where he makes his money. My job is to keep you out of that court. So planning will do that for you and your family. So we're in the second half now. Let's talk about some more advanced topics. Tip number 6, advanced planning with trusts. What is a trust? Your guide, your estate planning guide, has a whole section on different types of trusts, focusing on what we refer to as a revocable living trust. What is that? It's a contract. And you have in a contract parties to the contract. In this case, a grantor. Who is the grantor in a revocable living trust? You are. It's your assets that are going in, and it's your assets that will then be managed by the trustee, second party to our contract. What does the trustee do and who are they? In a revocable trust, again, you are the trustee because you're going to manage your own assets as trustee under this agreement. And it's very flexible and revocable. You can change it at any time. Who is the third party to the contract? The beneficiary. And who is the beneficiary during your lifetime? You are. So in a revocable trust situation, you wear all 3 hats: grantor, trustee, beneficiary. Well, then why would I do a trust? What does it get me? The 2 times that the trust becomes extremely valuable to you is during a period of disability. And again, this could be from either a disability from an accident or an illness. If you don't have the ability to manage your finances, your assets in the trust, because we retitle them, would then be managed by your trustee, who then is a successor trustee. So you're still the grantor and the beneficiary, but now you've put a contingency plan in place by designating the person or people who you want to manage things during a period that you are unable to manage for yourself. Again, tremendously valuable. The power of attorney does similar things, but in my experience, the revocable trust is far superior. And then upon death, the revocable trust avoids probate. So you have an opportunity to have distributions to your beneficiaries, create new trusts for the beneficiaries without probate. We have a case that we just talked to a client on the phone. There are 19 beneficiaries. If we had to go through probate, we'd have to serve all 19 people with process, which is tremendously expensive. With a trust, we simply distribute to those 19 people and have them sign a receipt. Very simple. So trusts give us a lot of advantages, both during lifetime and at death. Revocable trust keeps you in control until your doctor determines typically that you're unable to manage it for yourself. So that's the revocable trust. Irrevocable trusts are a little bit more complicated, and it comes down to asset protection, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Tip number 7, make sure that you've coordinated all of your assets with your plan. So often people have wills and they have different accounts with beneficiary designations. It's literally possible to have a beneficiary on every type of asset now in New York State. If you have a bank account, a brokerage account, savings bonds, annuities, life insurance, retirement accounts, you can designate beneficiaries on each and every one of those accounts, and the account will avoid probate. However, you don't have control over the beneficiary, and you don't have control ultimately over how much of each asset is going to the individual beneficiary, because between now and the time you pass, you're going to change those beneficiaries. Okay? So with regard to that, in changing beneficiaries, you want to make sure that you look at your IRA. Many of our clients come in and they have no idea who the beneficiaries are on the IRA. Oh, I set the 401k up 30 years ago. I don't recall. You need to make sure that you check with your financial advisor. We work very closely with your financial advisor to make sure that all the assets are properly titled and that all of the beneficiary designations coordinate with your estate plan. Can't emphasize it enough. Just doing the documents is only half of the game. Coordinating your assets with the documents is the other half, and that's something that we pay a lot of attention to when we're doing estate planning with our clients. So I mentioned this earlier. I'm not going to focus on it now. For retirement accounts, we have a phenomenal opportunity to maximize value for children, grandchildren, using the standalone retirement trust. And it's a great vehicle to hold the benefits from your IRA. It's a standby trust. So when you're alive, you own your IRA and you take required minimum distributions at 70.5. None of that changes. When you pass, you now can leave that retirement account into a trust, which would create different separate trusts for each beneficiary, and we can tailor it to each of your beneficiaries' specific situations. So it's very new. There's a private letter ruling from the IRS from 2012 that opened the door to this trust. So it's something we're utilizing now to maximize the value of your retirement account over multiple generations, beneficiaries for your kids and your grandkids. Tip number 8, plan to protect assets. We talk a lot about, on our Life Happens radio show, longevity. People are living longer. Some statistics: if you live to be 65, what the latest census tells us is, on average, not everybody, but on average, if you're a female at age 65, you're going to live another 23.8 years. So you're going to live to almost age 89. If you're 65 and a male, you're going to live almost age 86. So that's a long time after retirement, after you're 65. Are your assets protected for that time period? And what's the greatest risk that we face if we are going to have longevity as part of our plan? It's long-term care, whether it be care in the home, care in a nursing home, care in assisted living. You are likely to need some assistance with your activities of daily living if you live long enough. And so planning for that and the cost of that care, which now is up in the $14,000 to $15,000 per month range. Planning to protect your assets is extremely important. Medicaid is the public program. You may want private insurance, and we recommend that to all of our clients. If you can insure the risk of long-term care, that is your number one defense. If you either are uninsurable or can't afford insurance, then Medicaid is the only other planning available. And we use an irrevocable trust to qualify clients for Medicaid. It's called the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. And that's something that we can discuss with you in greater detail if it's something you want to consider. Planning for retirement, planning to protect assets, planning for the need for long-term care, either insuring the risk or creating a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, things that you should be thinking about. If it's something you want to delve more deeply into, we actually have a specific guide on Medicaid and long-term care planning, which you can get off of our website, pierolaw.com, on the resources page for long-term care and elder law. So that's someplace you can go. And if you want to just get more information at the consultation, we will walk you through the options and opportunities to plan to protect your assets long-term if you do need long-term care through that period of longevity. Just to give you an idea on what Medicaid allows you to keep before you can get benefits, if you're at home and you receive home care, it's $862 per month of income. And for assets, an individual gets to keep a little over $15,000. It's not a lot of money. So you want to plan in advance so that your assets are sheltered and not subject to spend down with regard to Medicaid purposes. So these are the irrevocable trusts. If you happen to be a veteran who served during wartime, we do veterans benefits counseling, and there's a benefit called Aid and Attendance, AID and Attendance. That is a pension, a supplemental pension. If you're the veteran and you qualify, you get about $2,100 a month of additional income. But again, it has to be a wartime veteran or their widow or widower. And that's a trust that we use to shelter assets for that purpose. The other is the Medicaid trust. Tip number 9, and we got about 4 minutes to go. So we got 2 minutes per tip. Protect your loved ones. We are in a society for the first time where the next generation is not expected to do better than the current generation, where children are going to have a more difficult time earning real wages and gathering real wealth than their parents did. So in my mind, I came from a middle-class household, and it was extremely important to my dad, as it is to me, to leave my kids a little bit better off than I am. To me, that's important. Not to every client, but to me it is, and most clients feel the same. If you want to do that, how do you leave your inheritance to your children? Well, rather than leaving it to them outright, you can create what we refer to as a beneficiary controlled trust. It's fully asset protected. If they get divorced, if they get sued, have a bankruptcy, the assets you leave to your kids are going to stay in your bloodline. And this is very attractive to our clients. It's one of our best sellers now, if you will, the beneficiary controlled trust. Your children can be their own trustee. They can manage their own trust, and yet you can set it up for them so that it is fully asset protected. If your child has special needs, whether it be something that was a defect from birth or something that is a special need that arose during their lifetime, perhaps it's a gambling or drug issue. We have clients all across that spectrum. We have special ways to plan for special people, and special needs trusts are the way that we do that. Last tip, maintain your plan. So once you create this plan, and again, getting started from tip number 1, don't procrastinate. Make sure you do something. Get the basic 4-legged stool in place. Your will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, disposition of remains appointment. Depending upon your age, you may want to be considering retirement planning. What do I do with my IRA 401k? How do I maximize the value for myself and ultimately for my beneficiaries? Then how do I qualify for Medicaid if that's an option? Or should I be looking at insurance products, life insurance or long-term care insurance, to pay for long-term care? And ultimately, how do I protect my children and my loved ones downstream? The beneficiary controlled trust. As you layer these on, they become more complicated. So organizing your plan, maintaining your plan, and having access to experts. Our firm specializes in estate planning, elder law, business succession. We're here for you, and we've created a program for our clients where for a fixed annual fee, we will number 1, meet with you each year and update your plan. Number 2, we will store all of your documents, data, information in a private, secure website that we create for you. So we'll help you get it organized, we'll help you manage it, and we'll provide professional guidance and advice to you on a year-over-year basis. We'll answer your phone calls without sending you that hourly bill. And believe me, you don't want to get hourly bills from a lawyer. So this program encompasses all of those services in a fixed annual fee. And that a lot of our clients are attracted to because it's insurance. It's an insurance policy to make sure your planning continues to comply with the law and meets your family's needs. So maintaining your plan on a going forward basis is absolutely critical. So with that, again, Life Happens Radio, which is on every Saturday morning on WGY 810 AM, 1031 FM on your radio dial. So make sure that you tune in. We have a good following of people who feel, and I'm gratified by this, that the information is solid, that the show is maybe entertaining, but at least it's informative. And we try to entertain at the same time. So join us on Saturday mornings from 11 to 12. It's a call-in show, so if you have specific questions, we're happy to answer those questions on the air. And that's something we have guests on a periodic basis. So join us on Saturday mornings for Life Happens. Thank you for attending our online training session. I hope it was beneficial to you. As you may have noticed, 10 topics in 30 minutes is 3 minutes per topic. So we couldn't do each of these in depth. We do, however, have a library of these online training sessions on our website, and we have done them in more depth and detail on a variety of topics, the living trusts, the Medicaid planning. We also have sessions coming up that you can join us for. One of them is as soon as tomorrow in the evening, and that is New York State Medicaid home care, something our office does a tremendous amount of work in. And a home care plan is something that will allow you to live independently, age in the comfort of your own home with familiar surroundings, and bring in the help that you need in order to do it. So once again, thank you for joining me. Always log on to our website for the latest in seminars and upcoming information. Join us on Life Happens and our online library of webinars, online training sessions you can access on all of the topics there. We have another one coming up. If you happen to be a business owner, we're going to be doing an online training session on small business that we're going to be scheduling that very shortly. So join us for all of these. Glad to have you. And again, if you want to have a one-on-one consultation, you can do that simply by going to the website there, the link. And the link should be on the right side of your screen. It's not on my screen, but it's on your screen. Sarah's telling me. So if you want to have that consultation, the first thing that I would do is take a look at the guide and give that a quick once over. Take a look at the questionnaire and put as much of the information in there as you have, and schedule your time to come in and meet with us. It's a no cost, no obligation, free consult. So can't go wrong there. Hope to see you soon. And thank you again for joining our online training session. As always, from Pierre O'Connor and Strauss, have a great day.